And once again, welcome to Inspire Elsie's Radio. This is the show Talking Men. I'm your host, Johan de Meyer. And today we have Mr. Warren Petersen. Remember, this is your show. It's your show. Guys, honestly, I want to kind of lean into the camera and say, why haven't we received a single WhatsApp? Ach nee man. And even if you are the wife listening to this and then telling your husband afterwards what he's supposed to be doing, just take down the WhatsApp number and stuur vir ons 'n boodskap in. Né? Okay, so remember, this is the show where we talk about your questions, hence what I just said, in your way. And it's actually interesting. We had a quick discussion before the show started on why do I bring guests every week? And for me, that's a fundamental question for the show. I really believe in what a friend of mine taught me years ago. My friend is Renee August. She's an Anglican priest. And she shared with me one day that, remember, that statements put your audience in a state, but questions put your audience on a quest. Okay? Statements put you in a state, and questions put you on a quest. And they are, I think, for us as men, we are flooded between social media and church and the mosque and our wives and our children, etc., etc. We're getting so many messages, so many statements of what we should be, that in the end, it puts us in a state of confusion. Because it's so difficult to figure out what is the problem that we need to solve. And that is why I don't want to just be the only presenter all the time. Maybe I'll treat you once or twice, and I'll tell you my life story, and hopefully you can learn from that. But with Warren here, that's what we discuss before the show every time, is how can we not provide solutions? So if you are watching and you want solutions, sorry my bro, jy gaan dit nie kry nie. Because there are so many solutions on our social feeds every day. There must be a psychological condition like, solution fatigue or something like that. The promise that I made you from the start, you'll remember, is that at the end of every show, we will leave you with at least one tool of how do I figure out my way of dealing with this issue at work, in my family, in my relationship with my partner. It's about putting each other on a quest. Because I know from personal experience that there are so few spaces where men can engage with each other and nie raad gee nie. Onthou, as jy raad gee, wat jy eintlik sê is ek weet beter as jy. En dit werk nooit. So the advice giving thing doesn't work. But we need to create spaces where we can ask questions. Because sometimes the answer to your issue is you're just asking the wrong question. And that's what today's show is about, is how can we build that camaraderie, that tribe of guys where we can really push each other forward by asking different kinds of questions. Okay. Nou dit was nou amptelik die langste introduction op hierdie show ever. So ek is jammer, Warren, is nou jou weer. So the listeners, watchers, what do you call somebody that watches a podcast? They know by now I don't introduce my guests by what they do. So when you're not working and you're not a husband, who are you?
Mm-hmm. Well, Johan, I'm seeing myself as I use the word catalyst. So I'm, I don't know if people know catalyst actually in a chemical reaction you have A plus B, and then they need a catalyst to form product C and D, and then the catalyst is not really featuring, but only the products. So I see myself as not there in front, but it's basically a catalyst of transformation of leaders. I refer to as multipliers. So that would I would describe myself as a catalyst transforming multipliers.
So jy is die vonk wat die vuur maak.
Dis pragtige stel.
You can have all the wood you want, but nobody sees the match once the fire is burning.
Exactly.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from that is you're not the guy that walks in front. You're the guy that kind of helps people from the back and tries to get that spark going.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean there are times when it is required, and then I will definitely arrive and deliver, but that's not the natural Warren.
Okay, so before we get to the thing that makes your catalyst hot really tick, can you give us just in a few sentences, because your example now was definitely very scientific, so just explain a bit about your work and where you live.
Okay, yeah, so in terms of my work, I see myself actually in terms of when people talk about work, there is the career side, but it goes beyond that. But on the career side, I'm working for pneumatics, new for nutrition, and matics for cosmetics. And it's all about strengthening the immune system. We are based in Paarl. We live, don't know if you know the place Gouda, near Tulbagh. We live there near the Volvlei Dam, so that's where we live.
Born and bred?
I'm from Malmesbury in the Swartland.
Malmesbury.
Yeah, I'm not one of the Breyers. My wife from Paarl, okay. And we were 20 years in Gauteng, and then God sent us back to the real gold, and that's where I am now.
Okay, wonderful. And that's a thing. With social media, you can always see somebody's profile picture and so on. So I know he has 2 children and they're beautiful and all of that. Okay, so I asked you what makes you tick, and you sent a message to me that, and I'm putting it in my own words.
Okay.
How do you help men build a support ecosystem so that when we don't have a space to vent or to ask questions, that we don't take it out at work and get fired, and we don't take it out at home and spoil a good marriage, etc.
Yeah.
So in your personal life, what brought you to that point of realizing I need other men to talk to me?
Yeah, I think it's a long journey. To summarize it, there were times when I went to study after school. I first went to University of Western Cape, and then I went to, that was a year when it was quite a boycott year. So I went the next year to Stellenbosch University.
Which year was that?
That was 1986 when I went to Stellenbosch. So that's, I think you were born then, or were you already born?
I'm a 72 baby.
Okay.
So it's just interesting. I've had 2 Petersens on the show, and you are more or less the same age, and both involved in boycotts and things, while I was in my white bubble.
Very interesting. Yeah. So I think there was a matter of during that time wasn't really fully accepted at the university, and so I was feeling quite alone at that time. There was no support structure such. Apart from my parents, at that time I thought it should be, and many years later, fast forward is when we came back from Gauteng, I found a mentor, and people around me surrounded me. So I went through a difficult pitch in 2016 again, but that time it was with people surrounding me, and it was a totally different scenario compared to previous years. So that's just the short of it.
Yeah, but immediately my interest is piqued because, like, if you have kids at university or at Stellenbosch, maybe this is a good episode to listen, because we'll segue to today a little bit later.
Okay.
But I just want to make the connection that as you were speaking, it sounds so familiar because it's happening every day still.
Okay.
The latest video that came out at Stellenbosch of students that didn't feel at home and didn't feel comfortable because the university at that stage didn't provide a safe space for people really to build those connections.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I think it's for me it's more individuals that also grew up with certain in certain ways. So I won't say it's university as such, but I mean at that stage I have experienced it. This is not a university, but afterwards looking back, it's more a matter of individuals at that stage. I mean, I will always. Overall, the university did such a lot in my life, so I would definitely not sort of put that aside. Have to honor them for that.
yeah, the point I'm trying to make is the feeling of young people and even people our age,
I hear what you
the
say.
struggle is continuing.
Okay.
Whether it's on university campuses today or 5 years ago or 10 years
Yeah.
ago, the personalities change as people move on with their lives.
Yes.
But why do you think it's so difficult if we narrow this down to men? Why is it so difficult for us to find those safe spaces?
Yeah, I think a lot of time there are certain things which I see as on the positive side as first generation things that's starting to happen. So if you look at in terms of support structure, talking about mentors, for example, that's not a culture that has fully formed yet. So you need to start building that culture, and that's one of the things I'm driving, building that culture. So you referred earlier about questions, and for me, it's I'm meeting 7 of my mentees tonight, and one of the questions will, for example, be, how does accountability look in your life? So we're going to work through that and discuss that. So having mentors surround you. So one of the other questions I normally ask, also for young people, young men, and then more mature men even, how do you make your decisions, especially important decisions? So that's a question. So I'm also one of those guys who like to ask questions, and then self-discovery, thought-provoking questions. Yeah. So
Okay. I want to be very, very practical in this show today, because this is so important. You know, there's lots of I've said it 3 times now in the show, but there's lots of people that claim easy answers. But building that network of accountability, where if I need to make a decision, there's these people. That kind of trust is not built overnight. So if you don't mind, if we can make it very practical. Let's say I'm a man in Elsie's River. I'm in, let's say, early 40s, and I'm at breaking point. I feel the pressure at work. I feel the pressure in my salary. My children are growing up. I don't know what they want to study, so there's more financial pressure. I love my wife, but because of all the pressure, I'm not sure what to do. Where do I start to build or to find that community of people that's not just somebody I see once a week and hi and so on?
Yeah.
What would you recommend I do first?
Yeah, obviously people live their life maybe differently, but where I believe it's starting with prayer. So that's where I've also started praying about it, and for God to send the right people on my path. And then you may be in a church, or you may not be in a church. In the case of what we have started to create because of that gap with the World Needs a Father, we do trainings. So what we say is, Johan, please come and join this training. And this training is really life transformational. It's not just a tick box. And now we're busy creating a pool of more and more people you can go to. So if that person, for example, in Elsis River, if I'm in contact with him, I will say, John or another person, really, he is a guy that I think you can connect with, and have a coffee, etc. So there are now such a lot of men that say, we have from the World Needs a Father training, for example, we have learned a lot of things. In our life, we apply it. So we would like to speak to the specific person that you're referring to. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's one way we can introduce the person to.
So I'm gonna just put I don't know what to call it. So check mark. Weet mos as die juffrou die ding regmerk. I'm gonna put check marks as we go through this, because I think behind what you said is, it may sound simple and stupid, but take action, do something.
Exactly.
In other words, sitting with that burden is not going to solve the problem.
Exactly.
Even prayer is to start to do something.
Yes.
You know, it's not sitting doing nothing.
Exactly.
So just a quick segue. I forgot in the beginning to mention this organization called The World Needs a Father.
Okay.
So can you tell us just briefly what you do? Because the tool that I want to give the listeners is do something.
Yeah.
And that do something can be start praying about it, but do something is also reach out to somebody, an organization or somebody where you can either join a course or that can refer you.
Yeah.
So if we use the World Needs a Father as an example, what do you do? How do you operate?
So the World Needs a Father is a movement, not an organization. So a movement is basically, if it's on your heart, you start. It's everything is there. We provide you with it, so you don't become a member of it. So we are now in 120 countries. Started in 2011 in South Africa. And the reason why is because every country we go to is the problem of fatherlessness. And that's one of the things with men also. When I started connecting with them, it always been traced back to either father or mother wounds. But many times it's fatherlessness that is a big problem. So we addressing that specific situation. The other day, a very well-known gang leader, he said to the founder of the World Needs a Father, which is my mentor, he said, Pakasi, we all knew we did a lot of wrong things. Nobody had to tell that to us. But one thing we didn't know why. And there they discovered it's because of the father wounds that they had. So yeah, what I'm doing, what we are doing is we train dads in the different roles for fatherhood. It's not going into detail, but it's basically to confer identity, establish authority, to affirm their children, and also to provide emotional security. And then through that, we also help people to build brotherhood groups of men and walking the journey after that. So it's not only a once-off training, it's really a journey with walking with them.
Okay. You've said so many things.
Sorry.
I want to unpack all of them.
Okay.
I'm going to start at the end.
Okay.
What does brotherhood mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really people you can trust and that has your best interest at heart. So a group of men sharing, asking us other difficult questions, join in the celebrations, but also in the challenges. So that's, I would say, in a nutshell, I would look at brotherhood.
Okay, so remember, I'm this 40-year-old guy. I'm struggling now. Okay, I need to do something. So I pray, I hear there's an organization, but now I'm scared, because men don't like meetings. So can we make it like a braai, or, because we don't like sitting around a table and talking about feelings.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are various. If I am, for example, I have a group of men that I would like to also get to hear about this content that can change their lives. There's different ways I can do it. If my crowd, my friends prefer braai, then we do it around the fire. So there are different. So it's not you can sit in our house. We can sit together as 5 or 7 men. So there are different ways. So that you have the formal one, but we can do it informally. Yes, so that is possible.
Okay, so if I'm kind of nervous because I don't feel like sitting in a meeting and have somebody preach at me, then what you're saying is from the outset, you reach out as friends, and you reach out with the support of being present for one another, and the format depends on the guys that attend.
That's correct. Yes, yeah, no, for sure. And we, for us, sometimes just sharing a testimony what has happened in my life or in somebody else's life, or asking them some questions. As I said earlier, some thought-provoking questions, and normally then they want to know about a bit more, and then just informally, we just share that, and what has happened in my life. Everyone's lives are unique, but then we ask them also what were their struggles, and if they should approach it this way, what do they think, etc. So it becomes very comfortable generally.
Okay, so here's the knockout question.
Okay. So I'll have to sit back now.
My reputation is on the line now. So
Okay.
what I want to know is, from your experience, the kind of pictures that I've created of men under pressure, is that your sense? Is that the kind of stories that come out on the other end?
The men under pressure,
Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, in the beginning, or if I understand your question correctly, generally speaking, men are under pressure. That's what is happening in society now. If that's your question, if I understand
That is
correct.
my question.
Yeah. No, that is definitely, and that's why we want to ease and want to bring men at a stage where they then basically, in terms of getting some tools, and if they start applying that in their lives, then the testimonies come. And normally it comes from the if they are married, from the ladies. I've just this morning I listened to a testimony from a wife, and she said she will understand it will not be all the men that has attended trainings, but when her husband came back, it was just another man. He was totally different, started to be present, positive presence, and she's, I can actually play it to you. If she agrees, I can do it publicly, but this is the type of things that we, and normally from wives, I think they experience it daily with their husbands, so it's a good testimony.
I think most people can understand, yes, I had a rough time with my dad. I don't know about you, but I know lots of my friends have. But that's a historical trauma. How many men struggle with feeling isolated? In other words, I don't feel heard. I don't feel seen. Like you mentioned parts of that now from this testimony of this lady, that her husband came back and he was able to be present, but in a positive way. I would guess that comes from a sense of, I was present in a space where somebody else was positive towards me.
Yes.
So I could see how it works and how I can do the same. Talk to us a bit about the importance for men to feel seen.
Can I, just to answer your question, maybe just a step Because
You can do whatever you like. We're sitting in our living room, remember?
Yeah, no, I think just the way it comes from, they nowadays they talk about small T and big T. So the big T is a big trauma where there was abuse and physical abuse, etc. But we also have the small T, which many times neglect. So the mom, especially 0 to 5 years, there's those impact. She's the primary factor in terms of a child's life, and if that belonging and security, if that was missing, then many years later the son or man then later on actually still miss that and feel isolated, etc. So that obviously as they go along other things happen, and so small T, it's not always about maybe what has happened to you, but also what was the neglect.
What was absent.
What was absent, yeah. So that's many times where it comes from. Dad was not there when he was supposed to be there, and now you have that excess need for acceptance and excess need to show that I'm good enough. My personal history through school years, university, I always wanted to prove I am good enough. At that time, I thought it's normal, it's how it should be. Many years later, I realized, but it was trying to prove I am good enough. So that, coming back to your question in terms of isolated and feel not heard, etc., I think that's many times it comes from when dad was missing, maybe mom was missing, and it actually with other things that happen on your life path, it's become just bigger and bigger. So we basically then first we bring them to the awareness, and then we start looking at how can this be, and normally if it's for example in a short, either at a braai or weekend training, it's not being addressed in one day, but at least they embark on that journey of restoration, and that's a good thing to start on.
The word you used, awareness, I think for me is so crucial, because if I can go back to you guys. So the first thing is we need to do something. I cannot, regardless of my past, I'm 53. Who can I blame?
Yeah.
If I want something different in my life, I have to act. And I have shared some of my history with you. Maybe in a future episode I'll do so again. But ek het dit aan my eie vel gevoel. Niemand gaan jou noodwendig kom haal nie. We have to stand up and make a decision of, I'm going to find help, which is a difficult thing in itself. But once I find that help, there's, and tell me what you think, but I think we've also lost the art of humility a little bit. Because to admit that something when I was 5 that happened so far back is influencing me today, to become aware of that, so that I again can take action and do something with it. It's not easy, and to in a group setting in particular, to that kind of vulnerability can be a challenge.
Definitely, yeah. Johan, if I can just, in terms of what you're saying now, so that awareness that you say and take action, when you get to that awareness, there are also, I think, one of the key things that come out is forgiveness.
Yeah.
And there is really wonderful breakthroughs. We have a guy that was, his son were on 6 different drugs.
Sure.
And when when we talked about establishing authority and you need to ask your son forgiveness, he said there's no way, his son is a rebel. And the next session he said he really wanted to be reconciled with his son. And then we said, okay, go and just ask your son to tell you, where did you mess up? And he went,
Sure.
he said it in a different way, more crude way, and the son just bombarded him. He said he wanted to, but we said just don't defend, just listen. And then after that, to cut a long story short, they helped each other, and that son that was on 6 different drugs, he within 16 days, he was totally healed from all 6. He said he started, one of the things that the drugs and he was on, if he actually tried to stop it one day, and then he got convulsions and he thought it's now for life. But he said when this happened, he felt a bit of sweat, but that was all. So forgiveness is so important. So yeah. So and then on that one, just to conclude that part, is in terms of your false self and your true self. Because of what has happened, the neglect and the abuse, you start operating in your false self.
What you think you should be.
What you think you should be. So in prison, we asked the guys, what you have done, do you think that was your false self or your true self? And they started to realize, and they said that actually that was our false self. And I said, but isn't it time now to operate in your true self? And that's where the change then happened. You know, so when, for example, one guy, he was like a performer. So when he had to preach, pastor, he just afterwards he asked his wife, how did I do? So he started performing, and then he realized, but he was actually for years operating in his false self. He's actually a way maker. So he's still standing now in front, but how can I make a way for you on? And it's totally different. So the thing is, with the false self, it's a taker, it drains you, while the true self, it's a giver, and it energizes you. So and my heart is that every man, as they are being supported, become or actually start operating in their true self.
Jan ouens. Lyk my ek moet op een van die kursusse gaan.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. It changed my life. So yeah.
Okay. A last question. We need to start wrapping up. Because I can see that we need you here a few more times. We'll have to find a way to cover your petrol money from Paul or from Gouda waar die kaas is. If you took the position of observer and kind of look back over the groups of men that you've mentored, what is I know there's never one silver bullet, but what is one of the ingredients that, you said you're a fire starter. I'm asking what's the fire that you start to happen when men start to rub shoulders and they start to realize, but we're not that different. We have issues that we share and we have solutions that we share. What kind of, out of that fusion, that fellowship, I'm struggling to find the right word, but when those men start to gel as men, as a brotherhood, what are some of the things that flow out of that without you having to do anything?
Yeah, I think even before the gel it's just the realization that you're not an island.
Yeah.
So now when you start realizing that, then you start gelling, and out of that, I think if you look, I mentioned the word accountability. Suddenly, for example, and obviously there is still in some intentionality. I don't think it's just a natural outflow. There's some intentionality as father is also concerned. Now, for example, I realize I need to improve. There's a couple of things my wife I owe it to my wife, I owe it to my children, and then we start sharing what is working for me, maybe what's working, not working for you. Why do I think it's not working? We start, I think that's an outflow of that. And then things like blind spots, for example. So I feel more comfortable and with some, maybe not everybody there, but let's say, Johan, please tell me, I can see you have my best interest at heart. So tell me when you see some blind spots. Because for many years I've walked through this life without knowing these are blind spots. And now, and that's why I say there's such a lot of freedom when you start having that brotherhood and you start sharing, because it's for your best interest. So these are the things that normally come out in terms of that. And in terms of decision making, as I've mentioned earlier, you start asking other guys also, and they're not necessarily going to give you the answer or make the final decision, but they ask some questions. No, I haven't thought about that. Oh, thank you for. And now I can make a more informed decision. So that's basically some of the things that flow out of that.
That's amazing. And from my experience, even if that journey takes longer than I hoped for, so if I'm 40, I'm from Elsis, and I engage with you, even if that journey takes longer than I expected, I think the fact that it's in a space where I feel heard and I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Because if I can borrow your language, if I'm operating in that false sense of self, I'm giving you what you want to see. The kind of obvious result of that is I will feel unseen because I'm not showing you who I am.
Exactly.
So that awareness of, yes, where do I really come from, but also an awareness that I'm not alone. There's people they don't have the answers, but they're walking the path with me.
That's right.
And we learn to trust each other so that we can point out those blind spots.
Exactly. So
Het ek mooi
yeah,
geluister.
it's absolutely spot on. So very impressed, Johan.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I don't know if I've shared with the listeners before, but I've worked with young men for 15 years. I've worked with young people, and with young I mean like 18 plus, for another 5 to 7 years before that. And it's amazing how that a small thing that happened so long ago, like my mother was not present for me in the way that it can turn into so many ugly things.
Exactly.
But the one thing that for me is the ugliest thing is that sense of performance. I must prove to you that I'm worthy of loving myself.
Right.
So I just want to, for you guys, just quickly tie it into the last few episodes where we've talked a lot about get up that 10 minutes early in the morning. No phone, maybe coffee or tea. It's winter almost. But to spend that time and sit and just think, who do I choose to be today? What's my values today? How am I going to stick to my true self today? Because that's the opposite of not dealing with those wounds from long ago and getting up in the morning and having that heaviness of another day where I must be something that I'm not.
Exactly.
Be a kind of father, kind of husband, a kind of worker at work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's well said. I'm with you. And don't know if I'm gonna have time again, but we talk about the table of support, and it really, because Jim Rohn also said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now you can maybe debate it or not, but the point that is, who are you surrounding you with? And if it's people that can really build in your life, that really want your best interest, that will build you. And that's so crucial, and that's why we refer to the table of support. Who are those people on the seats around your table, your life table? And the mentor is absolutely crucial in the different life areas, whether it's financial, whether it's my family, because even if all the living order is inside me, if my family life is, if there's cracks, it's going to just flow through that. So the mentor and other accountability partners help sort of make sure that cracks are filled, so that we still experience that abundant joy in our lives.
Say that again, table of?
Support.
Table of support. Now, that was a very important point. You are the average of the 5 other men that you spend most of your time with. That is such a powerful statement. So, gentlemen, we are at the end of our time, but I sincerely want to encourage you to give yourself permission to spend time with you. Give yourself permission even to spend money on you. En 'n lekker Gatsby kan mens laat beter voel, ja, so jy kan dit daarop spandeer. But if there's a cause, or if there's something that the point is, we need to do something about this, because the crisis among men, for me, I don't do it to scaremonger. The point is, there's a crisis, and give yourself permission. You are worth that, and unless we do that, the people that pay the price is ourselves, firstly, but then also very significantly our families, our sons, our daughters, our wives, our neighbors even. Sure, there was so much wisdom in this conversation. I assume if people want to get into touch with you, they can just Google The World Needs a Father.
They can Google The World Needs a Father. I can give my number. I don't know if you give it over the show.
People never have pens.
Never write it down. So it's The World Needs a Father is TWNAF. The World Needs a Father. So it's www.twNAF.com.
Okay, so there, he just said it, or you can Google The World Needs a Father,
Yes.
or, as I said in the beginning, send us that SMS, WhatsApp. You see where I come from there? Send us that WhatsApp. And so I'm signing off. It's Johan de Meyer for Inspire Elsie's Radio. And remember, you don't need to know the solution to start working on the problem. So thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
And I hope we can bring you in soon.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.